Welcome to SWAYAM online course on urban local governance. In today's module, we will be continuing the Planning Commission and the Niti Aayog. As of now, we have discussed in length all the 12 planning years of the 5-year plans. We have also discussed the composition of the Planning Commission. In today's part, we will discuss on the functions of the Planning Commission. What are the functions of the Planning Commission? It provides for the assessment of the material, capital and human resources of the country. The Planning Commission was set in such a way that they can do an assessment of the material available, the resources available and the capital available. As far as India is concerned, we were replenished with human resources. But although capital was a problem, but the material sources were also available. So, proper assessment and estimation was necessary. So, that function was performed by the Planning Commission. Another function was to formulate a plan for the most effective and balanced utilization of the country's resources. Effective meaning best use and maximum optimized use of the resources available. The third function was determination of priorities, stages to carry out plan and propose the allocation of resources. It has to prioritize the need. Say for example, defense was one of the important aspects which India had to take care because of its rivalry with its neighborhood. So, it was essential to have a strong defense. The banking system also was to be improved. So, that was also one of the priorities, and the national's resources had to be protected. So, that also was one aspect which need to be prioritized apart from agrarian society, agriculture. So, it was essential to have agriculture is also one of the priority because food security was important. It was also to have indicate the factors which are tending to retard economic development. So, elimination was also important of the unnecessary, I would say, what are the fragments which were spoiling or retarding the economy. So, it was important to remove those impediments. Also to determine the nature of the machinery necessary for the successful implementation of the plan, and also to appraise from time to time the progress achieved. The final point is to make recommendations for policy formulation. So, you see the functions of the Planning Commission goes for an entire cycle from determining the resources, then planning the resources, estimating the resources, then removing the impediments and also appraising and providing the necessary impetus on whichever priorities which has been mentioned and resources to be strengthened and enhanced, and finally to evaluate the program and also make recommendation to improve the system. So, it is also, I would say, a cycle of policy which would help in evaluating and bringing out good programs and welfare aspects. Now, what are the achievements of the Planning Commission? Some of the achievements of the Planning Commission of all the 12 Planning Commission was improving the national income. You might wonder if the Planning Commission was necessary. It was necessary after independence. We needed to have long term programs. We need to have a sustainable program. We needed to slowly and gradually improve the programs. So, increase in national income was one good point of the achievements of the Planning Commission. There were also increase in per capita income. You know, one of the functions of the Planning Commission was assessment, and this assessment helped to see the strengths as far as the geographical factors is concerned, the social settings are concerned, and the economy is concerned. The socio-economic development employment aspect was an important priority which was kept in mind, which was improvised, and it was also necessary to have an equitable distribution so that the growth happens rapidly in all walks of life, and also we have to be competitive as far as globalization is concerned. There was also increase in the rate of capital formation, and the growth in agriculture's sector was so rapid and necessary, especially after the Green Revolution. The development of economic infrastructure, strengthening of the infrastructure. At the earlier aspect, you see that the strengthening of the infrastructure of industrialization was an impetus as far as the growth of the national economy is concerned. There was also development of industries, and also the social infrastructure was improving. The social conditions were improving. People were becoming more broad-minded. People were having employment. There was more equitability. There was more equality, equity, and less of discrimination. People were more aware, especially in the urban areas. The change was very evident as the quality of life in the urban areas changed, and there was no such discrimination. People started believing that all human beings are equal. The social strata changed, the dynamics changed as far as the urbanization is concerned. So, if you see the growth rate in 5-year plans, you can see I have put a table to see how the growth rate has changed. The first plan, you see that it was 2.9 the target, and it was actual 3.6%. So, you see the target and how it has improved. Sometimes we see that it was the RBI which needed to intervene to improve the growth rate at the last leg, I would say the last part of the 5-year plan. And so, the pressure was mounting, but sometimes it was totally imbalanced because of the capital required was not met, or the public debt was increasing, and the strata of life which was quite fluctuating as far as employment is concerned, as far as inflation is concerned, and as far as industrialization was concerned, the profits were also fluctuating. So, the growth rate was not on target. That was a major issue as far as the Planning Commission is concerned. So, there was a dilemma between the Planning Commission and the Finance Commission. Matching the Finance Commission's need, the Planning Commission could not foresee the demands of the Finance Commission, and they were at loggerheads at most point of time, because the Finance Commission also worked on that annual budget, and it was under tremendous pressure based on the 5-year plan, which were not looking into the yearly problems or factors which were impediments to the growth of the income. So, if you see the drawbacks of the Planning Commission, we see that there are inadequate growth rate. They were not having programs to eliminate poverty and the impact of unemployment. Unemployment was still there despite having very optimistic 5-year plan, but it was also very demanding and pressurizing. As I said, the investments and the credits need to be looked by the RBI. The interest rate had been fluctuating. This causes a very strange demand and supply failures. Failure to reduce inequality of income and wealth was a great concern, and also there was complete regional imbalance. We could see few of the regions developed, hardly they have any problems, but there are few regions where are totally undeveloped. There were not any kind of system that could sustainably, and also despite having the diverse challenge of its geographical factors or the regionalism factors, it was not able to make or cope with the imbalances, and not able to give suggestive measure where the growth is prospective and equitable for all the states and all the regions. Of course, the impact of inflation, although the import duties were reduced, the impact of inflation was still felt and fluctuating in basic essential items. That is the difference that a country like India was facing as far as developing countries are concerned to that of a developed country, because if a developed country has inflation, would be on major products, but not on essential items. Here the food products itself became very vulnerable and very detrimental, because it was causing more poverty to the people. And also black money was a great concern. The flow of black money was increased. The Planning Commission had failed to keep abreast with the changing scenario of economic development around the world. So it was to be kept upbeat as far as the world is concerned, the globalized economy is concerned. So the Planning Commission was not updated. So that was a strong criticism as far as the Planning Commission was concerned. So we have a subsidiary, I would say, the National Development Council, which was an advisory body to the Planning Commission. It was to strengthen and mobilize the efforts and resources of the nation in support of the plan, to promote common economic policies in all vital spheres, to ensure a balanced and rapid development to all parts of the country. The National Development Council hence provided a platform for all the states to discuss their problems and issues related to development. So they became a bridge between the Planning Commission as well as the state, so that their programs can be realized. So although the NDC was retained, the Planning Commission was very criticized. The Niti Aayog had to replace the Planning Commission under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who abolished the 65-year-old Planning Commission on August 13, 2014 and replaced it with the Niti Aayog. The important point to be noted here is that it was established in the same manner as the Planning Commission, how it was created, that is, it was an executive resolution. Therefore, it is neither a statutory nor a constitutional body, but an executive body, more or less an advisory body. So, a Planning Commission, like the Planning Commission, the Niti Aayog is an executive body and it is not a constitutional body. What is the full form of the Niti Aayog? It is National Institution for Transforming India. Planning Commission was replaced by a new institution, Niti Aayog, and that is in the month of January 2015, with emphasis on a bottom-up approach to envisage the vision of the maximum governance, minimum government, echoing the spirit of cooperative federalism. Thus came the entry of cooperative federalism. So, the maximum governance and minimum government echoing the spirit of cooperative federalism became the major vision of the Niti Aayog. Maximum governance, which means it involved a lot of stakeholders, including the people that are governed, and also the minimum state intervention, and also echoed the aspect of bringing in the regional aspect, which was a major concern as far as the Planning Commission, in the form of cooperative federalism. The Niti Aayog's composition comprised of the chairperson, the vice chairperson, the governing council, you have the regional council, the ad hoc membership, the ex officio membership, the chief executive officer, the special invitees. Among all this, the chief executive officer plays a very important role as far as the bridging of the differences is concerned. So, the National Institute for Transforming India, the Niti Aayog, became an important executive body and replaced the Planning Commission. And the composition, you can see, had the chairperson, the vice chairperson with the governing council, the regional council, ad hoc membership, ex officio membership, chief executive officer and special invitees as far as the programs are concerned. What are the objectives of the Niti Aayog? Some of the objectives were fostering cooperative federalism, that is the involvement of the states. The regionalism was included as far as the Niti Aayog is concerned. The formulation of plans at the village level and the aggregation at higher levels. So, the link between the rural areas and urban levels were maintained as far as the Niti Aayog is concerned. Also, special attention to sections of risk of not benefiting adequately from the economic progress. So, it was necessary not only to develop socially, but also economically. So, sections of the society that were not economically developed were also a possible concern for the Niti Aayog. So, more of economic responsibilities, economic policies were incorporated in the national security interest, and they followed a full cycle policy which involved a feedback mechanism through innovation and creativity. So, innovation and creativity is part and parcel of Niti Aayog through a positive feedback system. Partnerships were encouraged as far as the national and international think tanks are concerned, encouraging to get new ideas, incorporating into the system so that we are developing. It also created a knowledge, innovation and entrepreneurial support system. So, here came the entrepreneurial system, where people were self-made. They were asked and encouraged to have their own entrepreneurship or programs and also start their own businesses. The platform for resolution of intersectoral and interdepartmental issues were also one of the priorities as far as the objectives of the Niti Aayog is concerned. State-of-the-art resource center for research on good governance was practiced. You can see that most of the departments were working on identifying the problems and impediments of the different departments so that good governance can be practiced, and best practices were awarded suitably. Focus on technological upgradation and capacity building was one of the programs and objectives of the Niti Aayog, because for better understanding it was important to have capacity building programs and also technological driven programs so that people are technologically sound, the standard of living and quality of life also improved. Now, if you see, there are 7 pillars for the effective governance as far as the Niti Aayog is concerned. The 7 pillars were proactivity, pro-people, participation, empowering inclusion of all, equality and transparency. If you see that proactivity, that is to foresee and also to encourage people with innovation and creativity, was one of the pillars. Pro-people, so whatever programs it was constructing, it was circulating with the aspect of pro-people. Participation was encouraged of all the stakeholders, maybe the private public partnership was encouraged, and also the NGOs. The civil societies were also part of this good governance aspect as far as the Niti Aayog is concerned. And empowering inclusion of all sectors and all strata of the society was also one of the parameters as far as the pillars of the Niti Aayog is concerned. Equality was established and there was more transparency. So, we see how best practices are coming in the form of good governance in the 7 pillars of the Niti Aayog. What are the functions of the Niti Aayog? It is a policy think tank of the Indian government and provides policy related and directional input to the government of India. Another important point is that apart from assisting the government of India, it also helps the states to improve. The center-state relation was improvised with technical advice. So, there we see more deliberation happening through cooperative federalism, through center-state relationship. There is more deliberation, there is more discussion, there is more scope for better good governance. Compared to the previous Planning Commission, you see how the approaches and objectives of Niti Aayog has been changed based on the criticism of the Planning Commission. More involvement of the state, more cooperative federalism, more equality, more improvisation in the quality of life, and also more collaborative, more innovation and creativity was incorporated. We now see the difference between the Niti Aayog and the Planning Commission. You see, the Niti Aayog does not have the ability or mission to impose policies on state. There is no enforcing factor. As far as the Niti Aayog is concerned, it is just a think tank and advisory body. But also, in the other hand, Planning Commission has ability to impose the states. It was pressurizing, and also it needed to be there for approving projects. Here, the Niti Aayog was independent as far as approving the projects is concerned, but the Planning Commission has to approve the projects. So that one impediment, or I would say red tapeism, was removed as far as approving projects in the states is concerned. So little more liberalized the Niti Aayog was. The Niti Aayog has not been given the power to distribute cash. The finance ministry is totally in charge. So the more control system and no misuse of funds were taking place as the finance ministry, who were responsible to the constitution and also the representatives of the people as far as the parliament is concerned. So it is also governed by the constitution and obliged to the constitution. So the Niti Aayog was not an approving body and also had no control to the distribution of cash. On the other hand, the Planning Commission had the ability to provide financing for a number of national and state level programs and projects, and this gave way to a lot of corruption, to state governments and various central governments to be involved. So this stakeholder aspect as far as the Planning Commission was removed, and the Niti Aayog was released from that aspect of involving itself in cash. One more difference is the state governments are more involved in the Niti Aayog, whereas the state government has nothing to do with the process other than this attend meetings. The only body in which the state government will be involved is in the National Development Council. The ultimate policy would bear fruit at Niti Aayog following adequate consultation with the state government. So there was thorough, I would say, revision or revisiting of the policies, and it followed a bottom-up approach. Whereas in the Planning Commission, it was more of imposing, it was following a top-down approach to the programs. So the Finance Commission and the Niti Aayog's role were now changing. The constitutional body is set up under the Article 280 of the Constitution every 5 years to make a recommendation on the distribution of financial resources between the union and the state. They also make recommendations on how to distribute the financial resources between the union and state, as well as the involvement of the guidance of the Finance Commission on various issues like public finance, governance and development, such as fiscal consolidation, debt management, local bodies, disaster relief, health, education, justice delivery, statistical system, etc. was involved. The Finance Commission made a significant contribution to enhancing this image as far as the national economy is concerned. What are the achievements of the Niti Aayog? It monitors and reforms food and agriculture bodies, policies and programs. It promotes zero budgeting for natural farming. It promoted the Bharatiya Prakritik Krishi Pradhati program that falls under the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas program. It had also conceptualized the village storage system. On innovation and entrepreneurship, it had shown great interest on infrastructure development and also clean energy sector, and of course through cooperative and competitive federalism. And there was also, I would say, digital invasion or digitalization and digital movement or revolution that incorporated the lives of the people, making more standard of living very conducive and also improving. What are the challenges as far as the criticism is concerned? The Niti Aayog cannot transform a deeply unequal society into a modern economy. So, that was a major challenge, because the social system is so deep rooted in our country. Even though urbanization has brought in some amount of equity, it was not able to overcome the problems of the social evils that were still there, but not so much as far as the urban cities are concerned. And also it has no role in influencing public or private investments, and it does not have any influence in policy making with long term consequences. For instance, demonetization, GST, it had an impact, but it was only a suggestive impact, but not a changing impact. Instead, we see that it has been very critical as far as the government sponsored programs is concerned, and more informalization is taking place in the organized sector. Labor force participation rate of women is also declining, and it's a great concern, and it also maintains a respectable intellectual distance from the government of the day. The way forward is what can be done to overcome this challenge: equipping the planning body with requisite powers so that it can effect change, allocation of adequate resources. The Niti Aayog also has to be legally accountable to the legislature for its inability to meet their targets. This would bring in more accountability, ensuring the planning body remains a non-partisan institution. So, this is the way forward as far as the Niti Aayog is concerned. There has been a great concern as far as the Niti Aayog is concerned, but as far as smart cities is concerned, water management and electricity is concerned, sanitation is concerned, the Niti Aayog has really been transforming. I would say it is just an initial changes that we have seen, and it's at its initial stages. We cannot say that there is going to be success immediately, but it's an ongoing process. The future looks very bright as far as the Niti Aayog is concerned, because there is something called cooperative federalism which has been instilled. The quality of life has improved as far as the urban cities is concerned. The concept of smart city was just not industrialization, but also was to improve the standard of living, the quality of life as far as the basic essential factors are concerned, like water, like education, health is concerned, has improved in most of the cities. And the Niti Aayog is constantly, through its statistics and reports, have been challenging the people by saying that we have room for improvement. This will only improve the lives of the people. So, the Niti Aayog, although it is an executive level, it can be improvised, and the criticism, if it is taken positively, can also see that the Niti Aayog will play an important role in making all the regional states more stronger, and the role of the states as far as good governance is concerned can be improved. It will also encourage strategies and best practices which is being incorporated in most of the states to be incorporated to other states and implemented. And so, I would say that the Niti Aayog, as far as concerned, is a developing program and has really improved the cities as far as urbanization is concerned or smart cities is concerned. And the Niti Aayog's program and development aspects as far as innovation, creativity and urbanization is concerned has been reaching remarkable heights. And I would say the Niti Aayog is indeed a transforming body, transforming the lives of the people. So, I would conclude that the Planning Commission had seen a lot of changes. So, also the Niti Aayog will see and show improvements in the lives of the people. This is a short explanation of the Planning Commission and the Niti Aayog. Thank you.